you, and let me make sure this works. But she was talking about she had a near death experience a couple of years ago, her second one, and she was talking about what they came in and told her with that event, which was this whole story about uh, she was from she originated from the Andromeda constellation, not the galaxy,
Hmm.
and how basically kind of like a more thorough history of the galactic evolution, the wars, and all that. But she was talking specifically about the Earth mission, how it happened, who was coming, numbers. So I'm starting to see one good thing about the show is that I can kind of get a feel for the collective expansion and involvement through repeat, having three shows. Like I got three shows today, three shows tomorrow, and you pick things up. And what I'm noticing is a couple of things. One is the pretenses are dropping, the masks are dropping. Uh, People are showing their soul and showing their ass, and they're accepting it, kicking and screaming. And then the other thing is we heard about for a long time, oh, we're going to get our memories back. And I'm starting to see that. Like people coming in with these threads of recall. Now, they're not all the same one, but they all end up at the same place. And then the other thing that's happening is the skills and the abilities and the sensitivities. I'm having that a lot. Like
Good.
I'm like, somebody will hit me up and be like, you were just, have an interaction. And then, it happened to me yesterday with one of the guests. And, it was very, very, like this is probably going to be. And so afterwards, she's messaging me. She's like, You're standing in my kitchen right now, like fully here. I'm like, I know, like I could smell things over there. You know what I mean? So I think we're glitching in, but I think it is related to what you were talking about in terms of like, when did you lose your light? Uh, where does fear stand in your life? Because it is all about our, um, what would you say? Like belief system or yeah,
Well,
it's what I mean. Oh, I forgot we were online.
yeah,
Okay, so let me just say this: Happy birthday to my big brother. Today's his birthday. He's 66. He'll probably get pissed off that I did that. He doesn't like social media. But our dear beloved sister Wanda's back in the house with us. She's been with us going back probably 6, 7 years, maybe several times. She does great work. She's very consistent. She doesn't mind speaking her mind. Somebody asked me yesterday, like who do you like talking to? I'm like, man, I like talking to the people. And most everybody has some skill, abilities, sensitivities, talent, that's somewhat multidimensional, good reflections. But I love people that are human, that honor the human part too. And you've always been very real and very humble, and but also very devoted. And so I just take my hat off to you
thank
and
yeah,
welcome you back. Thank you
I'd
for
love
coming
to
in.
talk about that. I would love to talk about that. The human. I
So
just wrote about that this morning, actually. I would
it's
love to talk about that if
it's
it
all
was.
about you. You take the floor, and we'll just go from there. Remember, this is just a conscious conversation. You can ask questions both ways, whatever you want to do.
Yeah, well, no, I'll turn that over to you. But let's just start with that.
Mm,
I just wrote something about that this morning that, what we're seeing in the world, and especially here in the United States, I think it's just more prevalent that we're seeing this victimhood, right? The blame game,
mm,
they did this and people need to pay. And what I wrote this morning was a reminder that our soul, who we really are, is the soul. More specifically, we're the oversoul. And I've had this experience of being the oversoul. It's in my body, of feeling it. We can talk about some of the mystical stuff later if you want. But
mm.
the oversoul chooses like experiences. So everything that has ever happened in this life, in any life, was specifically rigged, chosen by the oversoul as you or me as my oversoul. And so it just makes me personally sad when I read this stuff about, oh, we've got to ascend, like we've got to escape, and I don't want to be here. And it makes me sad personally when
Mm,
people are playing the blame game. They have to pay, they did this. And it really, this is just where I am. We chose this.
mm,
We chose everything. We chose our parents. We chose the abuse. We chose, you name it, right? I mean, my
it,
life has been any like yours has been anything but a calm kayak ride on a gentle stream. And but we chose it all so that
yeah.
we could remember who we are, because at the end of the day, we're the soul. We just happen to have this field that's an interface in this slowed down reality. So my work has always been about the human, because people act like, ugh, get me out of here. It's human. But it occurred to me this morning that it just feels like an absolute insult to
Mm,
our vastness.
yeah,
It's an insult to the majesty that we really are.
mm,
My work has always been about the human and about dealing with the nervous system, because the only thing that stands between who we think we are and who we really are is really the nervous system regulation, and
mm,
it's who the body thinks it is.
mm,
So yeah, all the magic is, listen, the magic is understanding that, yeah, I have a body. I'm a soul or an oversoul with a
mm,
body, and I can create a life that that I love, not just one that I have to tolerate, but
mm,
that I get to pull rabbits out of hats. That's what
mm,
that's what I do with people,
mm. Yeah.
through the body, through the
I'm
body.
I'm looking at 111. So I like that. 111 in 11 minutes, 11 seconds. Yeah, you said a lot there. The and we were talking about like the recent shows. One of the other things that's been happening is in these stories, these retellings, there is a growing reverence for the human, for humanity.
Yeah.
For there's also an acknowledgement and a recognition of the uniqueness and universally seated uh, humanity from the eyes of the, let's just say, the universal family. Like humanity, regardless of all this stuff going on, is getting turned on. Like it's like mama's pushing us out of the bird's nest now, and it's, you can do how you can do whatever you want. You can go out and make magic and pull rabbits out of a hat, or you can sit around and bitch and moan and remain stuck on the grid in the human condition and
Yeah.
looking, because it's all about perception, right? Like, so I can look at the human condition and say, fuck this, or I
Yeah.
can look at it and say, oh my God, I need to get jiggy with it because I'm not going to be here forever. And you only get one chance to do it right the first time. So
Yeah.
I hear you. I mean,
It, we're really here to understand how free we already are. I mean, my part of my work is helping, is kind of the science part, right? Not really just woo. I use quantum physics, science, neuroscience, because we work with these bodies. But when we understand that there is no out there,
mm,
it's just, this is what physicists who study consciousness are all saying. I wrote down the names in case I had a mind blank. Tom Campbell is a very famous physicist who speaks to the physics of consciousness, his theory of everything. Donald Holland is a neuroscientist and a physicist who describes it as well. Federico Fagin, or Faggin, I'm not sure, he's Italian, how you say it, it's probably Fagin or something, is another one. And we don't see the world. it's the Hermetic principles, as within, so without. We don't see, there is no reality. There's no one world. There's just a sea of bits of energy. We get bombarded every second with 11, I think it's 11 million bits of data.
Mm.
But our brains, we don't see the lamp in front of me. We see energy. The brain translates it. There's a 10-second delay. The brain goes, okay, based on what I know and what I've experienced, what is that energy? What do we call it?
Mm.
And that's what we do. Even hearing, there's a delay. Everything is energy. So, this idea of out there of looking at the world, no, we're not looking at the world. There's many worlds, right? Just what you're saying. And
Mm.
what we translate is based on what we've learned. And that's, the
Yeah.
trauma. If you've got unresolved trauma, you're going to be bitchy. You're going to look out and say, oh my God, it's so bad. We're doomed.
Mm.
But really, we're free. We take that 11 million bits per second and we narrow that down to like between 20 and 50 bits per second.
Wow.
Neuroscience knows that now. So, um, Donald Holland, the way he describes it, I love it. It's like we've got virtual reality goggles on,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
that's the only thing that's going on. Your nervous system doesn't know that because it's still going, whoa, wait a minute, I'm afraid. And that's really the work to be free. But it could be anything out there because everything already exists.
Mhm.
Time is an illusion. Everything is now. That's how free we are. If you're ready to give up the idea that you're not free and ready to feel the fear, it's always fear that just needs to be felt without flinching. That's
Mm.
it.
Mm.
That was what I had to do when, I had my dying alive experience. And
Mm.
that's when we're free. That's when suddenly we see things that didn't exist yesterday,
Mm.
possibilities. It's just really a fun life.
Yeah, and I think that's a good metaphor, even though it is literal. But it's like everybody has, what are they called? The virtual, yeah, the VR glasses.
Yeah.
Everybody has their own set of lenses, and yeah, I think that's important because you and I could walk outside and go look at something, and we're seeing it two different ways,
Yeah.
right? And so I think that's part of this whole human evolution, these last, whatever, 10, 12,000 years. The whole introduction of language, like the Tower of Babel. Like, so it just became, magnified this, uh, I guess you would say diversity, okay? Uh, and diversity could obviously be a strength, okay? But it's made it, division, separation, because we're complicating things by, no, this is what I'm looking at. No, I see this. No, no, this is what it is. And then you got to be right and you got to understand. And there's just a lot to it. But I really can appreciate what you're saying about the nervous system as well, because, I obviously had a lot of people on the show over the years. And every now and then somebody would pop in and start talking about the nervous system. And I'm like, yeah, 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 whatever. you like I just couldn't relate because I wasn't aware, right? And then, I mean, I was aware of what I was feeling, but I didn't realize the connection. And so then about a year and a half ago, I started to notice it and I started to go, oh, uh-oh, like, wait, whoa, whoa. It's like, they talk about the ego it shows you the red flags, right? But the nervous system is like the GPS. The nervous system's like, oh yeah, and it doesn't matter, right, wrong, indifferent. Something's presented to you, something said to you, you eat something, drink something, whatever it is. If it doesn't feel right, you don't do it. If it feels right, you do it. You know what I mean? And it's such perfect, a perfect part of our software. If you want to put
Well,
it that way.
No, I do put it that way. Actually, I'm even more direct.
Mm,
It's the controller for the simulation.
there you go.
It's the controller. So if we have lots of unresolved fear from many lifetimes, I don't want to go off on a tangent
No,
because
go ahead. We
this
have plenty of
life, the
time.
stuff that we are afraid of did not start now. I
Mm,
always go back to, with my clients, what's your lineage? I mean, my lineage is my great grandmother survived the death march from the Cherokees, Trail of Tears.
wow.
On the other side, it was starvation. My great grandfather and his two brothers escaped Ireland during the Great Famine. So I have carried that struggle. That if I'm persistent, I know I'm persistent because in my lineage we had to endure, right? Which is, there's a balance with that. So we have all of this in our nervous systems. Whatever it is that people are dealing with right now, it never starts now. We choose our families at a soul level so that we can work on it. But I can assure you, if you can remember other lives, I just happen to be able to remember other lives. I'm just wired that way. We have had so many opportunities to go, oh my God, here's fear. What do I do with it? And this time, because we're in an acceleration in this reality, some say we're heading to singularity in the next 5, 6 years. I don't know. That's above my pay grade. But this is the time when we just get to go, oh my God, I just reacted to that. I don't even know why. The nervous system, that's why the nervous system is so important. People, I hope this makes sense. Your nervous system is everything. We have these unconscious reactions that we don't know why. Why do we judge? That's an unconscious reaction. I see that all the time. If you really knew that you created your life hook, line, and sinker, why would you care that what anybody else does? Well, there's that powerlessness running through our lineage, right? So we judge. And that's why the nervous system is everything. It is the lowest common denominator. It is the scared little 3 year old that's running the show. And so, I don't know, since we've had machines and books, the world has said logic is more important than emotions.
Mm.
But what I see as a coach, coaching business people and other coaches and just coaching people through life, there's a scared little kid in there that's terrified. And we can know all this stuff just like I used to be. Like, I'm pretty smart and I thought I could outsmart my fear. It doesn't work that way. It just doesn't work that way. So we change at the speed of safety. For those who are wanting to change their lives, the books, the strategies, fixing your messaging, or doing all that other stuff, it's just intellectual. But nothing changes until our body changes. And I know I think more people are talking about the nervous system now. I kind of talk about it like your body awareness, but most people just stuff it down and push forward, but it doesn't work because when we slow down, I use somatic tools in my work with clients, really easy ones. Just when we slow down, go, I'm safe, I'm held, or whatever's up for you, we switch to the parasympathetic nervous system, rest, regenerate, and create. And then the next idea pops in, the next orchestration pops in. We're not operating from fear and survival anymore. So, and I talk about this like we don't change until our identity changes, who we think we are. That's what
Mm.
you're speaking to. We learn to be a certain way when we're little. It's like if we would come in here from another planet, we would say, well, how is it here? How do they do love here? What is a father like? What is a mother like? Oh, what's money like? And there are 12 there are 12 somatic archetypes that I call Welcome to Being Human. I have them on a PDF. They're universal. And that's what you're talking about. The top one is I'm not worthy, right? I'm not worthy. I think the next one is I'm not enough. I'm powerless. I'm not safe. Life's not safe. And that's where most people are operating in their bodies, in the nervous system. It's everything. More people are talking about how to change your life by changing your self concept. Who do I believe I am? How do I see myself? Because all of it's all made up. You made up the welcome to being human based on the family that you chose, right? And we can make up, oh, I'm somebody who changes lives. I have a money honey. It's one of the things I teach in my courses. Like most
Is
of
that
us,
like is that like a sugar daddy?
yeah, yeah, really. It's like a sugar daddy. But most people have a money monster, right?
Mm,
Like money's hard. I have to work for it, I have to earn it. No, you don't. Because we all have sugar daddies, but we didn't learn that when we were
mm,
little.
mm.
So I know that was a whole lot of words, but
No, no,
it,
that's
it is,
I'd like to stay with this for a second. I've read a lot. I stopped reading, when in like 2012, but I used to read a lot, like 2 or 3 books a week for years and years. And a lot of it would be in the subject matter that we're talking about, and some of it would be in psychology, Jung, and some of that stuff, right? Self-help stuff, in the early years, which there's some good stuff in that too, that relates into the metaphysics, energy. But the archetype thing, uh, I thought you were going to say traditional ones like Jung's archetypes or someone else's. I actually think what you said is powerful. And the reason I think it's powerful is because they start with I am, even though it's a negative connotation in that respect. But the reason I like that is because it's in your face, you know, I am not worthy. Because if you went down the list and walked up to 10 different people and said that to them, at least on 2 or 3 of them, they're going, that's not true. No, they're immediately going to push back and say, like if you said to me, uh, like, I'm not worthy. I think a lot of myself. I love myself a lot. But the thing about the truth, it doesn't have to be in the majority. It's not like that. You know what I mean? So if there's a part of me that still needs to be spit shined and get that mold off of there, then it's accurate. And so and I do feel like that those are potent archetype descriptions, and I would imagine it's a lot like well, I mean it's kind of a very direct, no BS. Let's pull it up now kind of thing. I would imagine that's pretty intense for people.
well, but I work with people who want to change their lives. They're
Yeah.
sick and tired of whatever has been going on. And we all have them. I have it as a handout because what most of us learn to do is I need to be fixed.
Mm.
I need to be healed. And then they spend years or decades
Mhm.
thinking they have to fix themselves. True story, right? That's
Mm,
how it used to be. But when you understand these are just coping mechanisms that we took on when we were little, because we didn't know. We didn't know dad was an alcoholic or had an anger issue or mom didn't want to be a mother. So what do? We go, oh, it must be me. That's how little kids cope.
mm,
It must be me. I'm the problem. I'm not enough. Because if I were enough, it would be different. We're wired for that we're wired for adoration. But most people didn't get that. We didn't sign up for that. I want to say that again. Nobody's a victim. We chose that at a soul level.
mm,
But when you understand we all have them. One of my big ones was, uh, I mean, we have several of them. One of my last to go was I'm powerless. I could feel in myself with all this work that I've done my whole life when I would just go, when I have that moment, I would freeze and go, I don't know what to do. And that's like, so the way I use them is just once you know what it is, it's like, oh, thank you. Here's my welcome to being human belief. Here it is. I know what it is. There's nothing to fix. Come on in, feeling of powerless. Just come on in. Come on into my heart. Let me just feel you. And now, what would I love? What would I love instead of this? So it can come in. So that's how I use them because, I teach conscious creation, conscious manifestation. Most people in the manifestation community are, oh, they're saying things like, I want $1 million. Why? Because they don't feel worthy. Or right. Or, I want
Did,
a significant other. Why? Because I don't feel lovable. So what they're putting out is
yeah,
what they get. I'm
yeah,
not lovable. I'm not worthy.
yeah. There's a one of the early authors that I read. He's still around, Brian Tracy, um,
Yeah.
in the self-help, category.
Yeah, I know Brian Tracy.
Yeah, and he had this exercise that I used for years when I journaled, and it was make a list. Let's see, make a list of everything you would do if you knew you only had 6 months to live,
Oh,
and
yeah.
then make a list of everything that you would do if you had $1 million. And I think there was and you had a year to spend it or something like that. And then you would pare it down. And it reminds me, what you're talking about reminds me of it because that was the way that he introed it, was that, people are very ambiguous, right? And they're also uh, showing their cards, like you said. They're saying, when they're stating this goal, they're stating their lack, which is what you're saying. Now, recently, because obviously there's something going on. There's something going on all these years that brought us all together now. And I really feel like the summer has been. I mean, my intel for my soul was like, get ready. It's gonna be a hot summer, and everywhere I look, I see people, peeling layers like an onion, whether they want to or not. A lot of people in isolation. But in regard to this, I think this is something that is important. And recently, for example, with myself, I, listening to you now, I can kind of put the pieces together. So it was like, it's like when you let these things go, these, I guess you would say, these false, debilitating belief systems of self worth and self value, things start to happen. And I've played with this magic for many, many years, but I've noticed a difference now. Like, so something recently happened to me, and it was just on a whim. And it just so happened, and it was a daisy chain. So, and I'll be honest with you. Okay, so somebody hit me up because they wanted to promote something. And I made up my mind. I really want to get away from that, because every time I would do that type of show, I'd get a bunch of people, like, let me do that too. I'm like, man, I can't do that. I mean, go somewhere else and do it. No, no, no offense or anything. But my soul came in, and my soul said, hey, you need to do this one. And I learned a long time ago that if when the soul comes in, or the guidance comes in and tells you to do something, because there's a difference between intuition and insecurity. And both of them can kind of run the show here when we get a little inkling, right? You
Let
know what I
me
mean?
just stop you
Go ahead.
there. This
Yeah,
is
go
why
ahead.
the nervous system, and just hold that thought, but this
Yeah.
is why everything is about your nervous system. Because when something feels right, when you're not focused on
Mm,
protection, your
mm,
body, your your higher self or your soul talks to you through your body. So
mm.
your body goes ding, 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 ding. You can't miss it, or it feels like like somebody calls your name.
Yeah.
it's not up here. It's a full body response. So I just want to say that
No, no,
that's
I agree.
is that
And I think the nervous system itself, is like in other words, it can align with the field. That's how it feels to me. That's where I was going with it. So the superficial part of it, the story part of it, is I did it, right? And my soul's like, when you do something, you do it to the best of your ability. So you need to get any thoughts out of your head. This is drudgery, or people take advantage of me, or I'm an overgiver, or whatever the hell, right? So I do it. It was a very good show. It was enjoyable, and due to the connection on in a conversation, I'm told something that looks like, hey, you know what? I'll look into that, like an opportunity.
Mhm.
And so, but it was a very grandiose opportunity, you
Mhm.
know. And so I look into it and start to do the due diligence and everything. And that's what it was like. It was like being on a boat on a lake that was glass. And I get out of the interactions that I had as a result, and I'm standing in front of this pot of gold. And I say that not necessarily monetarily, because that's not my motivation, but in terms of like purpose and place and people and passion. I'm like, holy shit, this thing is right in front of me. Now, whether it happens or not, I don't know, but I'm not being held back. I'm like going, oh, how are you going to make this happen? Do you have the resources to make this happen? None of that. I'm like, there it
Good.
is. I'm going to walk that direction, even if it doesn't make sense. And maybe it won't. But my feeling or my experience has been, when something like that occurs and you start going that direction, it may not be that thing, but it's a sign that you're on the right. It's like a lamppost, and it may
Yeah.
be something else. Just like doing that show, was a lamppost, and it took me to the next dots to connect. So I really think that in your face, I am not worthy, or I am not, I think that's a really, and I think it's about time, because enough beating around the bush, and people talk about the truth frequency is getting louder and louder and louder. Well, the truth is very direct. And I don't know about your soul, but my soul doesn't mess around. My soul, I call it the hard loving of the soul. I mean, the brutal honesty of the soul. I mean, it's like we're not in the BS zone here, Todd. So, especially now. Thank
No,
you.
I would love to talk about that a little bit. Some of us, because you and I have talked enough. I'm just blunt. I'm tired of fitting in. I'm tired of coddling people. I don't coddle my clients because they just want results in their lives, not just like, oh, some airy fairy stuff, but proof. And so that's how I work, because when my life went down the drain, I didn't have the luxury of anything else other than what is it going to take to make sure that I don't end up on the street or that I can walk again. That was my personal story. So the truth here. So I've been writing more lately about what I remember. And listen, this is not from ego. Some of us just, it's our function.
Mm,
I had a little group for years, and I know that we had an energetic function. And part of that is just remembering what it was like before there was fear, before um, there was, before we believed that we were not, before we thought we couldn't trust our own light, which is the soul. And that when you talk about the summer and things happening, I want to talk a little bit about what I think that is. I, while I remember when I started to work with people a long time ago, I have a corporate background. I was in corporate sales and all that stuff, multi-million dollar deals. And I didn't know what I was doing. So my guides are like, okay, just trust us. So I would work with people removing things or seeing things from galactic timelines. And then when I went to Nigeria a few years ago, I was at the Capitol in the Rotunda, and it just happened to open up. And suddenly I was in the middle of the Orion Wars, which I remember. So I don't know what other people have told you. I'm sure they know more than I do. I'm just speaking from my lived memory in my body, because mostly I remember what it feels like, right? Earth was an experiment. Like, okay, can we create a planet? Can we create something where there was no fear? And I have that memory. Some of my friends, I think, have you interviewed David Maria?
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
3 or 4 times. Yeah.
Yeah. David and a couple of other people were part of my little longtime group. I mean, we met for over 10 years. We remembered what people would call Lemuria, when the earth didn't even have form yet. And then we got curious, because at that time everything was us. And a lot of people, since I've been writing, have reached out to me saying, I remember this. We remember all this. For all of you who are listening, there's nothing to learn. It's get the fear out of the way and your memories start to come back.
Mhm.
But then we got curious, because we said, I am the wind, I am the water, because that's really what's going on. We're everything. We're
Mhm.
just moving energy around.
Mhm.
And then we got curious. And then, as I understand it or remember it, that's when we started to say, what would it be like to experience myself?
Mhm.
That starts separation. And then Atlantis happened. I remember life in probably, I don't know, it was before the fall. So, Atlantis went on for thousands of years, but I have this distinct memory. Like, you pull up a memory of something that happened last week, where there is a wall of light, and it's me, where my energy combines with plasma, and it forms a wall. And I think I've heard Matthias De Stefano talk a little bit about this. There were communities that were based on resonance and light. And then, and then the fear came back. And then we said, people tried to hijack our power, which is what we're seeing now in the United States. This ties back to why things are heating up. I've known for a very long time that most of the people I work with are probably Atlanteans like me, or they couldn't feel me. And I know that now about my clients. I mean, they may not know it consciously, but they are choosing not to be powerless.
Mhm.
These energies. So here's what I remember. Here's just what I mean, it's a memory and I can still see it. I remember when the floods came in Atlantis, and I died saying, and the temple walls were rumbling, and I died. And in my last breath, I remember saying, I will not let this happen again. We outsourced our power. We thought somebody else would save us.
Mhm.
We thought the priests would save us, the hierarchies. And that's what so many people are doing now. The government will save us. This person has the power. That's Blame is the ultimate statement of powerlessness, right? So things, at least in the United States, and my international clients say it's happening there in their countries as well, situations are making our nervous systems go, oh, I remember this.
Mhm.
This feels really familiar and I don't like it. It
Mhm.
didn't end well before. And that is really, I think, what's happening here in the States, particularly Edgar Casey. I did a little research, a little bit last night. Edgar Casey talked about the children of the light and the children of the dark. talking about the same thing in Atlantis, that the Atlanteans are gathering again in the United States. And we're certainly seeing this now with, you know, everything that's happening. And some people are doing the same thing, right? Giving their power to somebody else, saying they're going to make a difference, or they need to be, people need to pay for what they did, instead of saying, wait a minute, I chose this.
Mm.
What's the wisdom? Here's another opportunity for me to choose my power, like that wall that I just feel like it's a real thing. We have that ability to do it now. Maybe some of your guests who know more than I do, have can talk about this. But everything is our own energy
Mm.
appearing separate to circle back around to where we started. And this is why so much fear is coming up,
Mm.
because somewhere we remember, our nervous systems remember everything, you
Yeah.
know,
I
right?
think that's a good point you make about blame too, because when we hand over, I knew as a little kid, like, because and you know how you go further along and you start to things pop back in your head
Yeah.
from, and you go, oh wow, I was lit. But I can remember as a little kid, like 3, 4 years old, and I can remember um, hearing my soul basically tell me, if you're going to get your neck chopped off, you're going to do it based on your choice, not give that responsibility to somebody else. But now I'm listening to you and I'm going, yeah, that's how it kind of works. People are like, I'm going to hand it over to this guy over here or this government over here. Therefore, unconsciously maybe,
Yeah.
when the shit hits the fan, you can't blame me. See,
Right.
there's this whole thing about, you got to blame those people. They're the ones in doing something illegal, or they're the ones that are, whatever. And it works both ways too. It works with love. I mean, you put the onus on somebody else to give you the love that you know what I mean? So there does seem to be a lot of wringing of the towel, I mean, I don't, to me, and I do have memory of Lemuria and Atlantis. Atlantis at the end, and but like you said, for me, it is how you feel. I can remember through my feel that the way it feels.
Yeah.
But it's like if these memories, in other words, at some point, it's bigger than all of us. Something's going on, and so as this expansion occurs, or this whatever the cycle continues, the gears are moving. These memories are coming in, should be very, very effective for a person, a soul in the body that is on point with themselves. Like I can see the relationship, even in a, not I'm going to say a subtle way, but I've noticed in the last 3 months things that I've been able to do, uh, and I know they're directly related to the shit that I got off my shoulders, which is, like you said earlier, or I commented to you was, I thought I was clear of this or of that or of this. And it has nothing to do with anybody else, by the way, obviously. And then something would come in and go, oh man, I call it stupid in substance. When I go, oh my God, I was stupid. But then
Yeah.
there's this big substantial, elevation that comes with it. But so, yeah. So, and so what you're talking about, the wall, okay. Like we didn't lose any of this. Just like the genetics of the nervous system, or even physical characteristics are inherited, like you were talking about. Uh, well, so is the magic, and that's the thing. If there's a shroud, around us, or many of them, or whatever, uh, that's what we're doing. We're pulling the rug out, and then the shine is right there. It's like finding an oyster, finding a pearl in an oyster.
Yeah. And Bashar talks about this, and it's really how I describe it in my work. It's that Michelangelo quote that what is it, that about He looked at the marble. He stared at the angel in the marble and carved to set her free. It's that.
Mm,
We have an energetic blueprint. We each have a function. Mine happens to be coherence, reminding people, working with people to just what we've talked about, like
mm,
breathe through the
mm,
fear, breathe through the feeling in the body, and then go, oh, and now what do I want? Right?
mm,
That my function across timelines is coherence to be the peace no matter what.
mm,
That's why I had to go through it in my own life. But we have dreams and desires, and those dreams and desires are like a carrot on a stick
mm,
that make us go, oh, here's a belief that's in the way. Oh, yeah, I don't believe that anymore. And that so that we get to have what we love or something better. But the real prize is we're living our function.
mm,
We're living, I mean, I wake up every day and think, oh my God, I love my life. I get texts from clients saying, I just have this realization and I'm so excited. I live for this,
mm,
not, and everything else comes in as a result.
mm,
So
mm,
everybody listening, you have that blueprint, and it's just what you said, Todd.
mm,
It's covered up
mm,
with lenses like those welcome to being human beliefs throughout many lives, right? Like life isn't safe. I can't trust my life isn't safe. I'm powerless. I'm not enough. I'm not worthy. I have to earn everything.
mm,
We remove those patterns by going, oh, I know what that is. Nothing to fix. Like, thank you. That's what I teach people to say. Use a pattern disruptor. Oh, thank you.
mm,
Body goes, oh, we don't believe that anymore.
mm,
Okay, this is what we're believing. And then
mm,
that blueprint that is doing its best to attract to each of you listening, whatever it is that would just light you up, your grandest desire.
mm,
It's doing its best to make it to magnetize those things. And when the welcome to being human beliefs, all the stories we tell ourselves are gone, they show up easily, effortlessly, flow. I mean, one of the somatic exercises I use with my clients. This is a short version, but it's just this exercise with our field. Already, it's bringing the energy of the soul in, having it come in, and it's a little meditation. It takes like 2 minutes, and then having the energy of the soul come in like liquid light, fill up your body, fill up your bones. Already arrived now. And when you run that, and the exercise is really having it fill up your body, your bones. Most of the people I work with are women, not all of them, but if you're a woman, have it fill up your womb, your sacral area, anybody, and then see energy coming out in 6 different directions: sideways, up, down, front, back, going out, come back into the base of your spine. That's your toroidal field.
mm,
That is magnetic already. And if you run that enough, your body goes, there's nothing to prove, nothing to do. We live in a world that says, I have to do to have. No, you don't. That's resistance. We are each big magnets. When all that stuff you talked about is gone, the next idea comes in, and we act from inspiration. And that's what you talked about. Things like your big opportunity, things show up that you could not possibly have orchestrated. And it all comes from stillness and knowing who you are at an identity level in your body of I am a soul.
mm,
Wow, that's
mm.
pretty cool. And
I
all this,
noticed, and I noticed that something else I'm noticing this year, especially this summer,
uh-huh.
on this subject is that that interaction, that ongoing thing that I referred to is an example.
Mhm.
There's an equilibrium there. There's uh, there's uh, uh, there's no give and take. I don't mean that. No, you know what I mean? It's like, and this is kind of what reminded me of it when you were talking is so a lot of, in my experience, looking back now at the self-help books and a lot of that type of stuff and reading those books over the years and whatever I've been exposed to since, um, it's almost like coming from a position of lack. It's
Yeah.
like, okay, so in other words, I want this, but there's all this stuff in the middle, those archetypes, right? You know, whatever. And they don't, you know, because it became such a push button society, right? They don't want to do it. We don't want to do it because it's the path of least resistance. I don't want to look at all that bullshit. I just want to get to the gold. But even if you get to the gold and you don't go through the BS, you know, and put the tank to time, it's not going to stay. And you know, I know you've been around. And so
Well,
that, you
that's
know,
what I teach. I mean, I just want to stop there
mhm,
it because that is everything. I
mhm,
mean, that's why people go through all this self-help stuff and there they are back at their patterns.
mhm.
Because nothing works until we do look at our who do I say I am? And am I operating from who I learned to be as a kid? I'm not enough. Or have I stepped into my new identity? We're the soul dropped
Yeah.
into a body. We're making it all up. This is a play. We can make up any play so that your identity has to sync up with who am I being now?
Yeah.
And that's when it's permanent.
I noticed this too. I noticed that because obviously over the years, you know, with all the episodes I've done, most of them are practitioners of some sort, right? And I've seen an evolution there that's following the collective pattern of kind of unveiling, revealing, you know, that type of thing.
Mm.
And so there's a lot of humble pie being eaten, I would say. But
Yeah.
I saw Dr. Joe Dispenza a couple of days ago, and it was a short clip. And he says in the clip, I won't go into the whole thing, but he says at the very beginning, he says, uh, when a client comes in for a session, I will not listen to their story.
Yeah.
Period. You're not going to get one word out because you're back over there. So your whole body is there.
Yeah.
Okay. And so it really made sense to me along the lines of what you're talking about because, and kind of what I'm experiencing, which I have experienced before, but now I've got a better set of eyes as I look back. Okay. Because my soul's educated me this summer in like ways it hasn't since I originally woke up 14 years ago. But what I'm saying is when these things are addressed, you know, when they are, because I think you make a fantastic point. I guess that's really what I want to say is watching practitioners participating, and I'm not throwing shade on anybody. I believe that there's certain things that get you to a certain level, and then as you go up to the next level, you may not be using the same things that you did before because the field has changed. The band of frequencies is bigger or higher or something. But what you're saying about patterns, I think is gold because I've seen too many instances of finding the program, you know, finding the history or the traumatic events or whatever the case is, and a clearing takes place, a cleansing takes place. And I'm sure it does. But we're talking about something that continues to flow, that continues to ripple out. And it is located, in my opinion, in those patterns. So, what are you doing? Why do you do it? Are you open to your reactivity? You know, when if somebody says, "Hey, why are you?" You know, I mean, we can get into that stuff, but the point is that conversation is here. I mean, it's here within me. You know, this is so important, and I believe this is probably why a lot of people are in isolation right now, because maybe we're getting being prepared for the big, whatever is going to come. I don't know, but
Well,
it sure feels like a snowball going down a mountain that's not going to stop, and it's getting bigger. And I think it's putting people's feet to the fire.
yeah. Well, as I said, some people who certainly are above my pay grade talk about singularity in the next few years. I don't know. People are talking about the event, but that's
Well, they talked about that for 5 or 6 years.
just
I
more.
laugh at them. But what is your take on? I've not had a discussion on this. I picked up on it here and there, and I kind of understand it, but I've not really been interested. But I'm just curious. These people that are talking about singularity, what are they saying? That everyone's going to be on the same page?
Well,
Or,
yeah.
is it going to be a homogenous environment where everybody's a fucking robot? Or do we still have our individuality and
No,
our
that's
unique?
not what they're talking about at all. They're talking about singularity as I understand it, because I had to look it up too and do
Mm,
a little search on it. Like, what are they talking about?
mm,
Is this idea that the gig is up, believing that we're a lump of flesh, which is what most people do.
okay.
Most
Yeah.
people believe they're a lump of flesh and that they have a soul instead of believing I am a soul.
Right.
That's what I am, and I created this body, and I'm here for the experience to know myself. It's really what we started in Lemuria.
Yeah.
So singularity, what they're talking about, who knows? Again, who knows? I have a different view of things, of a lot of things, but we can choose right now to end the gig. We can choose the game, we can choose we choose in every moment. Do I believe my old fear-based patterns, or who do I say I am? Am I giving do I believe powers outside of me, or do I want to remember that I am the power? And and I make it sound like it's easy. It wasn't easy when I went through it with the accident and the money. I've got a couple clients going through it now because we're so most people are so used to believing their thoughts, and they live in separation. They still think that out there is a real solid thing.
Mm,
And when something comes up like I can't pay my mortgage payment, or, all the things that are heating up right now in the economy. I lost my job. How am I going to feed my kids? Listening to me, people are probably going to want to throw tomatoes saying, well, that's easy for you to say. And I've heard that from people. I know what it's like.
hmm
I know what it's like to say, okay, I could end this. I could end this. But I remember my last life, or a recent life, when I did kill myself. And here I am again.
mm.
Right. So
Yes.
when
Yes.
right. So when we're in it, that is an invitation. I think I'm off track here,
No,
but
no, you're not off track.
that is the invitation that everybody is getting right now. The intensity, sometimes, I see on social media, people talk, oh, it's so intense. It isn't for me. It isn't for those of us who are saying, oh, here's my welcome to being human belief.
Mm,
Come on in to my body, like holding a baby. That's all it is. Intensity just means something is happening. We're creating a story about it.
mm.
That's what we do. We create a story, and then we don't want to feel it.
Let me ask you this: as with what you do as a coach,
Uh,
um, how important is it for a person to legitimately accept 100% responsibility for everything that happened to them and that has occurred or that for their life, regardless?
Well, here's what I would say. That occurred to me. I think about this all the time. How can I help people understand the magic that happens? Because it's freedom. You don't have to figure anything out. Things show up, like, you and I talking.
Mm,
And we have to be accountable because Otherwise, so we are as we are like a tuning fork, right? Back to what we talked about before. Everything is energy. At a subatomic level, we are vibrating particles of energy. That's it. That's who we are. That's what the soul is. The soul is formless, right? So for anybody here who wants to escape, you didn't come here to escape. Formlessness is our is our nature. We're here to go, oh, what would it be like to experience this or this? So, but as a tuning fork, the clearer we are and the more we accept, as we accept responsibility for our frequency, maybe you're here to be a high C, but if you're still blaming, that cuts off that tone. If you've got a B flat and a D sharp in there, the signal that you're sending out into the world is muddled.
Mm.
And that world is only a mirror. This we live in a reflective world, as within, so without. People with illness. I don't really specifically work on illness, even though I, have my own experience with the diagnosis. Joe Dispenza does that. But people who worry, people who have not forgiven, that's that D sharp, B flat. So that these energies go through our body first,
Mm.
then they go out. And
Mm.
what we experience is the mirror. So how important is it? Well, it depends on how much you want a life of freedom.
Mm-hmm.
It's also learning that we can trust life. Again, because of all these things that have happened since the galactic wars, um, we, and this is what happened after Atlantis, and even before Atlantis fell. Because I have this memory, I can just see these big boulders coming from the sky. And I've had that memory for a long time, being terrified. This was how many years? 13,000 years ago, longer. And I just heard something just last night. I listened to a Bashar thing and he talked about it, that comet that ultimately created the flood and the flood that the Hopis talk about and all that, that ultimately destroyed Atlantis. For 20 years, Bashar says, it was spitting off big boulders in the sky. Um, so and that's when so with all of this that's happened, we really have it in our nervous systems that I can't trust life. Don't tell me that's a mirror. I think love and light, right? I see that all the time on people like love and light, kill the bastard, right? No. So, but I'm not judging. It's just this is what we've done. And this is the work. So the work is really to tie that back to your question. And this is what I do with my clients. I've got an online course. As we prove to ourselves that we do live in a reflective universe, the world is only a reflection, and that it's safe,
Mm.
then we can let go of more of those old beliefs. So that's a long answer to what you just said.
Mm.
The easier it is to trust, like the client who decided, because I have all these little exercises to prove to everybody, it's a mirror. It's not out there, it's you, it's a mirror. So
Exactly.
she
Yeah,
decided
exactly.
purple
Uh,
sock.
um, yeah, I had a thought. It was
Yeah, go
actually
for it.
in conversation. You know, in a deep conversation, with a close connection, you might say. And it was like in regard to presence. We throw these words around, and it's like, saying it's one thing, doing it's another, and that's not in judgment. I'm just saying we learn through our experience, right? You can tell
Yeah,
me till you're blue in the face, but that's why you have these exercises so that they can go through the motions and the body can feel it, and you know how it goes. You're the coach, but And I just whipped out, I said, if I'm not present, if you tell me that I'm not being present, okay, and again, we can look at two different things, or to look at something and see two different things. Um, are you present? If you're if you're perceiving a lack of presence, I
Yeah.
have to. If I'm perceiving, I have to put it on myself. Am I perceiving a lack of presence? Am I present?
Hmm.
Because I'm reflecting a lack of presence. Now you could change that word for a lot of different things, right?
Yeah.
But but yeah, it is all us. And see, I love history, and I always did since I was a kid. So that was part of what I read. Was all nonfiction, and at least that's what they said it was. But now, as we get down to this point of the road, I kind of feel like that. Let me just describe it this way, because it's all just a movie script. It's not real. So don't get freaked out, people. But the powerless powers that be, those that have hoarded the esoteric knowledge, let's put it that way, the artifacts, what's under 50 miles of shelves under the Vatican or under the Smithsonian, or that they this is like a year in the life. In other words, we've had lifetime by human perception, definition, a lifetime, a lifetime, a lifetime, a lifetime. It's really one string of a life. So you have the soul lineage, and then there's a branch that's the human lineage, which isn't really just based on this planet, even like you're talking about. It goes back to galactic wars, etc. So just having that knowledge, like you're turning on people, like you said, I think I'm working with primarily Atlanteans, right? Well, and you said, and they might not know it, but the thing is, they're going to know it. Their soul is taking them to what like begets like. So something's happening. And if in just that alone, if people, or say a predominant number of people, had the memories and could see that, see the course of that life, that would change, that would alter reality. I mean, we would be building walls of light. We would be teleporting through the air like Superman. And I firmly believe that that's our potential. And it's within our reach. But I marvel at this because, we think we've been conditioned to believe that the human aspect is the redheaded stepchild of our multidimensionality.
I
And
know.
you know how everything is with the universe, it flips. So to think that the mundane motions of, say, something like working with you, like going through your exercises or doing the shadow work or peeling back the layers, whatever, to think that that drudgery, that toiling, that effort is directly related to our liberation, our freedom, our skills, abilities, and higher sensitivities is mind blowing. So why wouldn't we? It should be Katie bar the fucking door, and everybody heard in here, and I have a feeling that it's starting to happen with people like you. It's starting to happen, and even if it's not verbalized, like you mentioned the tuning fork, people are going to pick up on it, and then on top of that, you have all these young people being born and brought into the world the last 10 or 15 years. That's mind blowing. Like
Well,
that itself is like, I was telling this a couple days ago. I was sitting at the little boardwalk, they call it a Malecon, in this little Mexican village, which
uh-huh.
is which is right on the beach, right? It's just a big concrete thing, right? And so people go out there, and I'm sitting out there after a day of working and having a beer, and I'm just sitting there, and these two families walk by. First, this family walks by with two little boys. They're like 5 and 7, and as they're walking by, these little boys are just turning around, looking at me and pointing at me. I'm not saying anything. And then another couple walks by, and they're carrying like like maybe a 12 or 15-month old, 18 maybe, I don't know, but big enough that, and as they're walking by, the kid is turning around, pointing at me, and I could see his soul. I couldn't see the other one so much, but I could see this baby's soul. And it lifted me because I felt like it was almost like I was pushed into another dimension for a second. Like there was a different vibratorial connection or something. So you have the impact of these souls, and then you have the people that are on the front end of this tsunami. So I feel like it's going to be. First of all, I don't think anybody knows what's going to happen, and anyone that thinks they do should probably go back to look at the patterns within their life and why they do the things and believe the things they do. I'm not criticizing anybody. I'm just saying, hey, man, Socrates said, the more I know, the less I know, and there's a lot of truth to that because I don't know anything anymore. But I
Yeah.
do what I do know is that there's something about accepting the full composition of my I'll speak for myself of my makeup to include the darkest aspects, the lightest aspects of polarity, and even duality, memory or not remembered, conscious or unconscious, and applying things spontaneously, intuitively, intently, with integrity. It can be done consciously, moment by moment by moment, just as we were conditioned, trained. Okay, we can do the same thing through
Yeah.
we know repetition builds. We know that. I mean, that's like education 101 or conditioning or programming 101. you know
Yeah. Yeah, no, I agree with you that, you just said so many good things. I've been on this path for 50 years, but really, the weird stuff for 40 years when nobody talked about this stuff,
it's,
handling the Melchizedek and all this other stuff. So I guess what I want to say is, you know, what you said is we're here to embrace it all. That's why I love the science of it now. I part of my lineage and what I learned from was the Seth material that Jane
hmm.
Roberts channeled in the
Ah,
60s.
I remember
It
that.
was way over my head then, but went back into it, and physicists are just now finding those little tiny particles that Seth said you are the creator of your life, and we're always telling the particles what to do.
Hmm.
I mean, the Seth material for me was like, oh yeah, it was just a reminder of what many of us experienced in Atlantis.
Yeah.
Before we thought, oh, I'm not powerful. They have the power. um, part of the when that comet was blasting the earth, we thought, because that's my memory of it, like, oh, I'm not powerful or this wouldn't happen. Right. So these things, these shadows that we have are all some version of fear. Like
Mm.
I'm not enough, or it's I am not. We're either I am, I exist. When I went through, when I had my final showdown with fear, I would just, and it was trying to grab me back into a story, I would just practically chant, I am, I exist. And
Mm.
I would feel the excitement of that because that's who we really are.
That's it right there. I mean, we're like the dog chasing its tail, bites the tail, figures out it's him, her, and that's really it. The living is the gift and the prize and the mission, if you want to use that word. But that's it. Just to go, oh my God, just the fact that we're having this conversation. What would happen if I wasn't here? Well, I would be that formless soul and all that, but that's not the point. I don't need to go back to that which I already am. That you remember Franco de Nicola, right?
Yeah.
Okay, and so part of his evolution was, and he was one of those like Mateus de Stefano that had full recall of other planetary incarnations, et cetera, et cetera. And but one of the functions that he had at one time was to field souls as they left the earth plane,
Mhm.
in particular suicides. Okay. And he said, and I meant to tell you this earlier when you were talking about that. And by the way, I've been suicidal. Nobody, I can tell you that straight up many times and not too long ago as well. But uh, what he said was when they would come out and he would receive them, the first thing they would say is, "Holy shit, what a ride! I want to go back."
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
so this is, maybe that metaphoric uh, 1,000 years of peace is a place that we arrive to that we always could have, okay, where in human terms we would defy death. You know, like I don't remember everything as much as you do. Apparently, I remember little scenes, and I remember in Lemuria that we had a physical body at one point, and there was an evolution. I remember that,
Hmm.
but we could pop out. I
Hmm.
remember being able to, like we do when we go to sleep, except we're not sleeping. I'm just like going to go over here and this is still running. But if I want to go back into the physical body, I can, taste food. I can make love. I can, you know what I mean? Like this is
Exactly.
it. This is the human thing. That's why every single day, and I don't give a shit what anyone says, is, I work, I serve myself, I serve others, I love my life. I take it as it comes, right? And I can see my relationship, like you were talking about the nervous system, the way I could feel the field like aligning with me and like, oh my God, and there's a playmate, and there's a playmate, and there's a playmate. But I will go down to the beach and I will get a double shot of whiskey and a beer and a cigarette, and I will sit there and just look and just the water, the wind, the people, the families, the children, these dogs running around in it, and I'm going, oh my God, I have, it's kind of like the old saying, like sometimes I feel like as a human, it's like you fall into a pile of shit and come out with a bucket of gold. Well, we're the bucket of gold. This whole experience is the bucket of the gold. And every time because it doesn't matter if it's your mother in law or Trump or Russia or Israel or the Vatican. It doesn't matter. You want to feed the fucking monster? Fill your boots, all right? But I'm not going to because I don't know how long I'll be here. I want to be here. I actually am intending to be here for hundreds of years.
Yeah.
I'm not going to because I've always felt this way, Wanda. Like, how do we know? You probably have the answer to this, but how do I know or not know that my very thoughts will be what happens? Like, in other words, had my soul said when I was a
Just say,
kid, if you're going to get your neck cut off, you make that choice. So I'm going to carry the thoughts forward that I'm going to be here hundreds of years and my body's responding. I'm 63 years old. My lower spine has decompressed after 30 years, which is what
yeah.
the hell is that? I've heard other people,
Yeah.
going through other things. You've had your time. The lady yesterday had a story very much like yours, when she came on years ago, reminding me of you. But yeah, I mean, it all starts here, right? I mean, it's our thoughts.
No, it's our thoughts. It's these, and I am always in awe at the utter design of this because think of it. We're just a bunch of particles of energy. We're
Mm,
love. That's what the soul, we're part of a monad. The monad, and there's just different layers or different organizations of energy
mm.
or gestalt. Seth called it gestalts of energy.
I
But
remember that.
yeah,
Yeah,
ultimately,
I can't thought about that book in years.
oh, I love The Nature of Personal Reality. I've read them all more than
Yeah.
once. The Nature of Personal
Who's
Reality.
oh, go keep going, keep going. I'm gonna remember.
So, but oh, what was I going to say? Ultimately, it is a miracle. What I just said to a client yesterday, I don't know who created this design, but this intelligent design, but it is just
Isn't it?
spectacular
You, me,
because
we, and it.
we're formless.
Yeah.
We're formless.
And that's what I'm saying about the day because and then I'll come home and I'll make a meal. And it will be a work of art and love. And I love it. And I don't mind it. I don't mind eating at 9 o'clock at night and watching a YouTube video for 30 minutes because I don't know if I'm gonna wake up tomorrow.
Yes.
You know what I
I
mean?
mean,
I
this is
don't know. So
this
like,
is where I wanted to go with this. Is you make such a good point because once you go through the worst thing you could ever go through that your mind, pardon me, that your mind can come up with. For some
Mm,
people, it's death. Some people, it's just like for me, it was things that there's no way I'm going to come out of this. Right? When you get to the end of your logic, it's like dying. It's I call it dying alive. Then you go, nothing's a big deal.
right.
So then, I mean, this is just where I am. I've just let go. Like I don't need to control anything. I realized I just wrote this morning because whatever was happening, it just really hit me that
Mm,
I lived with waiting for the other shoe to drop for so long, decades. And I have we all have that, right? Because of all
yes.
this stuff that you and I have talked about, like, oh, it's okay now, but well, I realized this morning
Mhm.
I don't even have that anymore. Like
Yeah.
I wake up and it's just this utter stillness that I would love for everybody to experience this, where you know that you're lived, we're lived. And a lot of your people listening know this, but they're not, your nervous system doesn't. We're lived, we're breathed, and everything is rigged. It's
Mm,
orchestrated to set us free.
mm,
When our nervous system finally goes, I don't, it's all good. I
mm,
decide to see purple socks, like my one client, they magically show up where there should be no purple socks. When you realize everything is like that, we experience what we expect. The mind lets go, and there's this utter stillness. And it's
mm,
how I live. It's like, I'm up here in Flagstaff. The Grand Canyon is so close. It's like I'm going to go out on Mather's Point and I'm just going to fly. I'm just going to take off and see what happens. And that's how free ultimately we can become. And this isn't just words. I'm just saying,
yeah, you can't fake it.
no,
You
it's
can't fake
like,
it.
and then,
And there's no I mean, for me a big key was in 2021, the first Soulogy Fest in Sedona. And when I came back, because it was a huge, collaboration. It was just a lot of energy. The mother was talking. It was just Sedona, Sedona. When I
right?
got back, I started juicing, and like about 90% of what I was taking in for a few months, right? And so a couple things happened. One, I started to focus on what you were saying earlier. This was a big turnaround for me, right? I mean, I was already, on the path, but there was like like the afterburners came on.
Yeah.
And one was sitting with my emotions instead of going, F that. I'm like, I'm pissed off. Okay, you're pissed off. Okay, you're pissed off. Okay, be pissed off. I'm like, and then eventually you realize, man, this ain't nothing but a thing. This is all me. Nobody's done anything to me, right? But then the other one was, it must have come from, it wasn't really a fast, but I mean, the way I was pure for whatever, um, it was things would come to me. Things would come to me, those little epiphanies that rub you the wrong way, the memories, the triggers, whatever. And the first thing I would say is no judgment.
Right.
Speaking to myself, no judgment. Okay, this is what happened. A lot like sitting with the emotions. This is what happened. This is the actions I had, the words I had, or maybe the thoughts that didn't align with them, or whatever the case was. And really did a life review, a mini life review in that particular instant. But the key for me was to start that conversation with no judgment. Take a breath. Okay, here's what happened. So that's why I keep marveling at like there is, like, with what you do, okay, there is something to be said for the machinations, for the going through the motions. It makes sense. Why wouldn't, if the experience itself, living itself in this particular type of incarnation is the whole point, then it would only make sense to dive deep into those things that we didn't see along the way, that are the keys to something extraordinary. I do believe that. I don't believe, yeah, even if this is a simulation or whatever people want to call it, I don't believe the universe that I'm part of doesn't do anything for nothing. There's always an upside. There's always the level of expansion for the fractal as well as for the collective, because one is the other.
Exactly. I mean, and ultimately it's freedom, I think. I mean, Pluto's in Aquarius. I'm not an astrologer, but Pluto's in Aquarius. Pluto is saying, hey, transform or die. And Aquarius is here for the to instill these Aquarian ideals, which is
Aquarius is what
res,
water.
well, it's
I,
water
I
actually ruled by Saturn. I think,
yeah,
I'm not an
I'm
astrologer.
not either. But I
Uh,
know I know Pluto is like, when Pluto because I do have friends that are astrologers and they've been talking about this for 2 3 years. Like Pluto's going to da 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 da, and it's going to be like, we just entered the no bullshit zone. Well, I think we did.
yeah, well,
That
Pluto's
I
going to
think
be
they're I
Yeah,
think they're
Pluto will be in Aquarius for 18 years. And
mm,
Aquarius is just what we're seeing. It's power, it's grassroots, power to the people,
mm,
community, eccentricity, individuality, because ultimately we're all a puzzle piece in this whole. And people, most of us learn to pretzel up to get love, to fit
mm,
in,
mm-hmm,
so that we wouldn't get judged.
mm-hmm,
So this is really what's happening now. The other thing that I wanted to say is I think one of the greatest gifts that I have had as part of my function is that I do remember other lives. I remember being a Knights Templar. I remember the religious wars. I remember being a monk. This just came in the last month, a Grand Montine monk. My body went ding, 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 ding.
wow,
So, looked it up. It's like, oh yeah, that's what that vision is. I remember really vivid memory of the Civil War. Oh, it's hard for me to even think about this, to feel it, but I led my men into battle, and um, it's hard. So as I died, I can still smell the gunpowder and the men moaning and horses dying. And I died knowing that it was so senseless.
mm,
And that I was thinking about, I led these men to their death, and what about their wives and their
yeah,
children?
wow,
So the beauty of that, besides, is that we're saying, no, not this time,
right,
no more war.
right,
And then to extend that, last weekend in my Life by Design portal. It's really an online course, and then I have weekly live calls. One of our members does past life regressions, and she's a terrific medium. She's written a book. So we did 2 sessions, past life regressions. Everybody went deep. Everybody had a vivid experience that said, oh, wow, this is what is in front of me now. This is what this is all about. It didn't start now. So that's what I want to say to everybody.
mm,
We have all these other lives,
mm,
and you may not remember, but they're there. They're in your nervous system. They're affecting your patterns. It's easier, I think. It just takes the weight off when you understand that none of this is personal,
yeah,
right? Just what you've said, none of this is personal,
mm,
because we're here to return. This is what singularity would be. We're here to return the world to a place where there is no war. But we've
yeah,
got to end it in ourselves. We've got to
yeah,
end the judgment.
yeah. And I
There,
think
where
that
there,
I
yeah,
think I think that question I had about is it a prerequisite? It seems like it would be. I have to take responsibility, or to the degree that you take responsibility for everything that's ever happened to you, will be directly related to your level of achievement, or whatever the case is.
freedom.
But
Yeah,
but I think it also goes the other way, because to me this is the big kicker, right? and that is taking responsibility for everything because we are everything. You know what I mean? Like, people say, well, who made this? And I agree with you. And that was part of Franco's memory too, was the architecture on the team that created this part of the galaxy or whatever, the Earth School, whatever. But it's the you, me, we, and it, and it's become obvious. Like I can't love you more than I love myself. I might tell myself that. So I can't love the universe more than I love myself. It's an equal thing. It goes hand in hand. So everything is kind of graduated like that. And I really feel like that's the hurdle and obviously you can see it. You can see the programming, the propaganda and XYZ of division and separation. It's very obvious, racial, cultural, religious, whatever. And I find it interesting that the the uh, the game plan seems to be this one world thing, this unification, bringing everybody to the same place, when almost like a bad copy of the actual thing. Like, in other words, we never left the universal. This is just this projection. And
It's
so the
yeah.
baseline grid is there. All we did was, like we were describing earlier, put a shroud over it, an overlay, and say, oh, well, this is reality. Almost like that movie Inception, where you have a dream within a dream within a dream.
Yeah.
And so I feel like that, these efforts that people make individually are, as our memories come in and we figure out what the hell happened, who we actually, the whole story, the whole lifetime, which is not just this life, we're gonna go, holy crap, we are OGs, man. Like, okay, like really have an appreciation for ourselves and each other. Because everyone that showed up here, whatever your role is, this isn't like for the weak of heart. And we've had too many people that have tapped into, the you, me, we, and it, whatever, that have said, man, this is like the tough. Well, Dolores Cannon said it. Casey said it. It's the toughest school in the multiverse. So,
But wait a minute. But then, it's also, but then here's the rub. We
mm,
also chose it at a
yeah.
soul level.
Mm,
So many people are stuck in, oh, it's hard, let me out. The
mm,
jokes about when's the next ship happening, coming, take me with it. And that is like, okay, I get it. But then you get to a point where you realize I chose this. And
yeah.
if I wouldn't be here unless there was a reason. That's, if
Well, I
thus
think
there,
when you say I chose this, I mean that's really it. Okay, so if you want to, like, if somebody says, "Well, how can I be responsible? This person did this to me, or the government did this." Well, because people talk about free will. Okay, your free will was exercised for you to come in the door. So therefore, you are responsible for being here. Therefore, you're responsible for the experience, and no longer is it looked at as some kind of curse. It's a blessing. It's life. It's a gift. It's, and like, those people that he would field when they came out of a suicide, they want to go back right away. So I would imagine anyone else would too.
yeah, because, Seth talked about it in the material all those
Mm,
decades ago that we came here, that we're here to learn how to blend imagination, just like the walls that I remember, that it was just, I didn't question it. I just did it. Well, we came here to remember that our imagination and that our frequency and emotions turn into form. That's what
mm,
Seth said, and whenever the nature of personal reality came out. And that's what it is. That's why, and we've got to remember there's no one reality. There's
yeah.
just, we don't experience, back to what we started, we don't experience reality. Most people think there's one world, one reality, one earth. There are billions of versions,
Yeah.
parallel versions, and the one we live in is a direct reflection of us.
Yeah.
So we came
Yes.
here
Yes.
to remember, as Seth said,
Yeah.
that we're making it all up and we
Yeah.
can make up just about anything. And when we get that, then we don't need to be here. We'll be somewhere else.
Yeah. One of the things that came to me this summer too was as I reflected, I feel like the period that we're in, we could describe in many different ways, but I really feel like it's a life review in form. Like, when people have an out of body or near death and they're shown their life and they can see their effect on other people, etc. The different perceptions, like you said, they're all different. But one of the things I noticed was, or that came to me as I was reviewing things, and it was kind of a flip of, where we look at bad things and go, oh, I caused that. And finally get there and you accept it. But it was the good things. It was like, oh, it wasn't that person. It was me. You know what I mean? Oh, that was me. That's me. Like even the little kids coming by and having that freaky episode going, what the hell's going on here? I felt like I landed on a different planet or something. That was me. Okay. And the
That's,
little kid looking at me is me.
yeah.
Right.
And that's
So,
that.
you know what I mean? So that's like, even the possible business opportunity I was telling you about, that's me, you know? And now I don't understand it all. I know that we have playmates. You're my playmate. You're my collaborator. But that's a big, 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 big neighborhood too. Where
Yeah.
we think we have a one-time incident with somebody. I was talking to somebody the other day, and they had something. They went in somewhere, and somebody said something to them, and it triggered them. And I think it was a past life thing, right? Nervous system. Oh my God, that's why this. And well, they'll never see that person again. But and I told him, I said, well, man, that was you guys probably planned that ages ago.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
another thing about the time thing, because the element of time. That's another thing for me this year too. Has been like I don't get in a rush, because I have a corporate background like you did for like 28 years, right? And so it was always go go go, multitask. Don't wait. And I mean, I was first one in the office, last one in the office. So normally, something like that would occur. I'm all hands on deck, man. I'm like boom, 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 and this time I'm just like I'm not worried about a thing. It's going to come when it comes, and it's a whole different pace. Time is a serious stressor. Or let's just say, time was a serious stressor. And the other thing that I'm finding is that space is starting to do weird stuff, like time started to do 4 or 5 years ago. So I have this person say, like it doesn't surprise me now. Like I put myself somewhere and then a few days later find out that, hey, you were here. I'm like, okay, yeah, I know, right? It's no longer like, oh, really? Are you serious? This is what I happened. I don't have to explain it anymore. Like something's going on where space and time are folding or bending or something's going on. And so
Yeah.
I think that's a reflection, because look, these personal transformations and evolutions, they're not mainstream. They're not going to get any press. They're not even going to be subjects on podcasts to the depth that we're talking about, in my opinion. Okay. And I've studied them for years, but that is reflective of our progress. Like we may not, I don't know if we're going to make it. I don't know anything, but there seems to be a giant threshold or stargate or dimensional door or something that's potentially available to step through, maybe in a fashion that we never had before. I can
Mhm.
buy that, like we've never been in this density. And I don't believe we came here just to go, oh, this is who I am. No, I
Right.
think we came here and go, oh, like the first half was, I'm aware now. Now the second half is, what do you want to do with it? Which is right up your alley, right?
Yeah.
Like, what do
Yeah.
you want to do while you're here? You
Yeah.
know?
And that is my work with people because they're sick and tired of whatever's been going on, the you know, all the bad, all this stuff that we all go through, right? All the
Hmm.
welcome to being human beliefs. And they're really here to go, what would it be like if I were just free? And they're comfortable in the not knowing because,
Yeah.
we try to fill that in. I have to say that in Vedic tradition, we just ended the Kali Yuga.
Yeah.
And so that's part of it. We go through
Yeah.
these big cycles.
Yeah.
Our little pea brain minds think
Yeah.
the fact that we can even remember back to Atlantis, we think wow, that's a big deal.
That's just like yesterday. That's like yesterday, last week.
Exactly.
Well,
But
and then too, like having experiences like outside of the construct of this, I would say, universe, like having, having awareness or remembrance of. So the Kali Yuga, the precession of the equinox, and all that stuff. That's the gears in the clock. This
right.
is this is the design of this part of the multiverse. That's what it is. You go somewhere else and it's different. And I remember certain things. I remember like being in a place where, and it could have been in the universe, but you talked about free will. So like my feeling is, and I've heard people say it, I'm not just saying it because they said it, that we've never had this level of free will. Like this is like, you know,
Right.
total. But I can remember being in a space uh, I think as a formed being, not a humanoid, but I remember that and it was cool. It was like the love and peace vibe, and it was just very cool. But it was very simple, and you could only go so far up, so to speak, and so far side to side. You didn't have the range that we have here, and I feel like sometimes when I get it hasn't happened too much lately, but sometimes when I get down, I'm like, damn it, I'm ready to go. Then I remember, this is why you always come back because it's such a free range thing. Like you can go explore anything and everything, to the intricate degrees of life, and
Yeah.
that's pretty special. It kind of
And
makes you look at adversity and bad things. Obviously everybody wants to be healthy, but man, I got to tell you, I have never, Wanda, I've never been happier. You know, it's not that you know, I want to do things in my life, but I'm not stuck on it. I want to have certain connections and certainly I love business. I've always had a business thing like you. And so, yes, I would love to do certain things, but I realize now it's not my bank account because there's nothing in it. It's not my car because I don't have one. It's not, I got 8 shirts. I got one pair of blue jeans, one pair of boots, one pair of sandals, and one pair of tennis shoes, and they're all falling apart. Uh, but I've never been happier. And I'm in this, I'm in this authentic, antiquated town that's like being in a time capsule from 50 years ago. You know what I mean? You got cobblestone streets, you got street vendors, you got people, kids laughing and playing, horses, motorcycles, four wheelers, and a car every now and then. And it's pure. So I'm going because that's my meditation every day. I go to the bay. I told you, relax, have a beer, and then I look out and I say, I picture an atom bomb goes off, and the what do you call it? Like the cloud is coming at me, and I'm like, let's roll. And then I picture the other extreme. Like, well, what if this is it? If this is all you and you created all this, why wouldn't it become more anchored and why wouldn't it spread? Oh, you want to go to Egypt, but you don't have a passport. Fuck that. I'm the creator. I'm just going to set the intention. And how do I know Jason and the Argonauts aren't going to pull up in a ship that went through the Bermuda Triangle and happened to land in the bay and are going to take me to Egypt? But my point is it's like I've never, and I can't be the only one. There's no way I can't be. As the individual goes, so goes the collective. So something's landing, and obviously we're presented with. in mass, distortion, propaganda, BS, lies, deceit. But this energy seems to be holding everything and everyone to the same standard, like leveling the playing field. And it doesn't matter if you're the Vatican or a person or a government or whatever, the truth will be seen. And
Yeah, no,
that's yeah.
I agree because that's how a new world gets created. I don't know if your listeners are familiar with Lee Carroll. I mean, as
Hmm.
I said, I've been on this path for decades, but Lee started channeling Cryon in the 80s
Yeah.
sometime. Um, I had a dead teacher through a trance channel in Sedona in the
Mm.
90s who talked about this time. Lee has, I think he wrote a book on, what did he call it? Not Gen X, but whatever. He wrote a book on this, that all
Uh-huh.
this is coming down. These younger people are looking at this and saying, not on my watch. And I just listened to something he said the other day, and he was saying, assuring people that
Mm-hmm.
these younger people are, because I'm older than you, are the new statesmen. So as I go on to YouTube, everybody's saying, "Oh, this is going to happen, and watch
Mm.
out and
Yeah.
prepare." I sometimes feel
I
like
mean,
I'm. Well,
yeah,
let me just finish.
go
But
ahead. Yeah.
it's so how do we get through it? Number one, it's that what you and I are talking about. It's the nervous system, knowing that we're creating it, and it's realizing that this shift is just revealing what's not in integrity, because this is what happened in Atlantis. This is why
Yeah.
so many people are going ding, 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 ding. Don't know why, because we remember
Yeah.
this did not end well. And just like me in the Civil War, saying, I'm going to do whatever I'm here to do to make sure it doesn't happen again.
Yeah.
So, for anybody listening to this who thinks maybe we won't make it, no, this has been in the works. It's part of the unfolding, and that's what you're talking about. We're going to be just fine.
Yeah.
Everything now is just the big reveal, the where we've put our power outside of ourselves, where
And
we
all
think somebody's going to save us. But what's
yeah.
going to happen for a lot
Yeah.
of those people that are on the pedestal, they're being right now revealed.
Yeah.
They don't care about anybody. They're here
Yeah.
for themselves.
Yeah.
So that's what we're in the middle of, the big reveal. There's nothing to fight
And yeah,
against.
and it's like all the more reason to to um and again, like you said it earlier, I know it sounds easy or whatever. I can't explain it. I mean, I've I've done sessions for people over the years. I just never have advertised it. I mean, it was always, especially in the early years, before this became a prominent part of my life. People, you know how it is. People just come to you. Like, that stuff happens, right? It's arranged by the souls. But I've thought about it recently. I've thought about, you know what, let me apply this. But my point is because because at a minimum, I feel that I'm carrying the frequency or the band of frequencies or the resonance, like the tuning fork thing, like you were talking about,
Yep.
and that itself would serve, right? And the rest I can figure out or whatever. But the main thing is, and that's why I was saying it, is all the more reason to be present, and that's what I'm finding. I'm finding I'm cat sitting. They're not cats. They're souls. This female cat's talking to me. She talked to me as not as an individual soul. She talked to me as the voice of the feminine consciousness. I'm talking for even for me, weird. I'm like, what the hell is going on? So, there's something bleeding through here. Maybe it's the end of that cycle or whatever the case is, but all the more reason just to be right here, and that gets rid of because what is these prognostications and even I'm going to say the term prophecies. What's the freaking point? if it's going to take my consciousness out there, what's the difference between that and watching Netflix, which was created by the grandson of the number one propagandist in the last hundred, really the person who invented public relations and propaganda, Hitler's guy. And those programs are full of whatever, programming and frequencies and, who knows, subliminal stuff, whatever. But what's the difference? My mind's either going to be taken that way or back there with the traumas or forward with what I think I'm lacking,
Well,
so it's a I think to get to this point, and I'm not saying I'm there, I'm just saying what I'm experiencing, and this is and I guess the challenge is for me to become comfortable with it because, like you said, you're always we're always waiting. Okay, well, this can't last forever, you
mhm.
know. But my point is to for if that's one man's story, and if that is an indicator of what's happening to many people, if I think of it back to the nervous system, if let's say that there's a million of these people, you've got a million people walking around with a nervous system that's relaxed. Like the energy of that is profound. Like who is it? Abraham Hicks, and I know others do too, but I think they say one soul illuminated counters 750,000 that are not.
Exactly. And the science of that, I mean, nuts and bolts practicality of it, that's not just some woo thing. But when we're fully present, the word is coherent.
Yeah.
When we're not fractured off in the what ifs and yes buts, and we're just fully present in the moment, we have a direct connection. We're coherent with that greater part of us, with the soul. And ultimately, that soul is that the monad, the isness,
Yeah.
all energy.
Isness. Yeah.
Yeah, the monad is the isness. I mean, ultimately, my guides told me that the game is to be a monad with skin. And that's where we're going.
I
That's what
like
I'm
that.
here to
I
do.
like that. I don't feel like, and thank you for bringing that up because I don't feel like, okay, how am I going to say this without giving, I don't feel like that enough examination for growth and expansion is given to the multiple parts of being a human. And I'm not just talking about the physical, emotional, mental. I'm talking about literally what we might call multiple personalities. And I'm not talking about masks necessarily, but I'm not. Okay. Uh, I'm just saying that there is a multidimensionality that comes through this because this is the soul, right? And these are all just like that somatic of I was in the Civil War and I've had this thing with my elbows lately. The weirdest thing, like what the hell is going on with my elbows? And my soul says, well, just don't judge it. Put a little bit of castor oil with cayenne pepper on it to reduce the pain and just keep sitting with it because it's going to come to you. And I have a feeling it's from me falling off of a horse and landing like that or something like that. I know that sounds crazy, but my point is all these things come through, and so part of relationships, connections, business, personal, whatever, family, is we go, oh, I like that about that person, and I like that about that person, but I don't like that, and I don't like that. I think for me, it's like I have six kids, and some of them I talk to more than others, and I notice that about them. I guess because they're very close mirrors, and I've taken myself to an exercise like you're talking about with your clients, and I say, and I look at the whole, I look at the entire forest instead of picking out trees. You know what I mean? And I find that that's very powerful for me. And again, a very mundane exercise at the human aspect level and the multidimensionality of that monad. But back to the monad thing, that's why I brought it up because I believe that that monad physicalizes and not only in our the mirrors and our reflections like say you to me but also within ourselves. So it's been big for me to accept different parts of myself. And I tell people sometimes as they start to talk about darkness or and I'm very straight up. I sit with my demons. I don't fucking hide them. I mean, I sit with them, and I've had some brutal experiences, as some people might look at and go, "Well, that's your own damn fault." But my soul says, "No, man, you're just balls out, and that's what you do when you go in these incarnations. You want to be extreme. You want to feel your boots, you know." But it's given me a better reflection or a better understanding of myself, and now I can take it to other people. So I can look at someone and say, "You know what? I know we've had our problems, but I love every part of you, and I fucking mean it. I love and accept every part of you. I
Yeah.
do, and I want you to know that. I want you to know that, when we had this, my son, we had this disagreement, okay? Uh, Nothing changed for me. And those aren't just words, okay? Like I feel like a lot of the things that were written in the sacred text, a lot of the buzzwords of the new age and this and that, light workers, star seeds, these good sayings and pretty sayings, and uh, they're coming into embodiment. Like like there's enough. There's something has transformed the Kali Luga or whatever it is. Something's transformed to where there's not all this pushback, and those shoes aren't dropping on our head anymore. It's
Yeah.
it's it's phenomenal, and it's changing the tapestry of our life daily. Like
Well,
every day, I wake up and I'm going, it's a whole new world, you know.
yeah. You said a lot of interesting things. But this, like these demons. So this is one. So in the regression, one of the
Mm,
sessions that we did on Sunday, one young woman, one person, one client dropped into this life where she was a slave in Africa.
mm,
And it she she's just so rebellious this time, right? Like,
mm,
I'm not going to fit into the system. I love her for that, right? She's brilliant and strong and is having a challenge with her 13-year-old daughter. Well, when these regressions or the memories come in because it's here to help you in some way. And so in that, if I don't remember all the details, but it was in Africa and she had to give up her daughter. She had to give up her daughter in that lifetime, and she was a slave. And so we had a group call on Tuesday, and she was saying, I'm still processing this. So when you said we have our demons, no, we don't. We have unresolved, unprocessed, meaning unfelt emotions
mm,
that when we died, like my death in the Civil War or when I drowned myself in France, that I didn't feel it fully. I didn't make peace with it.
mm.
And that's what our demons are. And
Yeah.
then that's why we keep getting triggered with these, with whatever it is, so that we can go, okay, let me look at this. What am I feeling? That's right. I
Mm,
keep saying this. It's so simple. Yep, here's my old friend, abandonment. I've got a
mm,
client going through that, abandonment.
mm,
Come on in, abandonment. I'm here for you. Then she goes, and then things show up in her outside world that reflect support, right? So I would say we don't have demons at all. We just have unprocessed emotions that are much older than we can fathom. Some of us remember things, because it's our function, like
mm,
me, to
mm,
say, you can feel this and it won't take you out.
mm,
Just like Franco remembered what he remembered to say, to
mm.
remind people, you're bigger than this. And I
Yeah.
think what's happening right now, because of who knows, this intelligence that runs everything, has said, it's just time, and
Yeah.
that we're gonna, you could say that we're entering another yuga cycle, but we're remembering that all we have to do is drop the stories,
Yeah.
feel the feelings, because at the end of the day we're just a field of energy.
It's crazy because it's because, it's crazy because uh, on one hand, the over identification with this.
Yeah.
It separates us. And so the system working to bring homogenous to the world, homogenous, central command or whatever is just kind of ironic. But again, that's how the universe works. It's always a paradox. But yeah, when I talk about demons, that's my own semantics, and I agree with you 100%. For me, that's the way my journey, I guess, from typical conventional eyes would be there was a lot of darkness. There was a lot of what people might say, "Holy, that was a dark episode." Yeah, well, but so my relationship, my understanding, and my relationship with these things that I describe in that manner is on the same level as those that would be of an angelic nature. And this is including apparitions. This is including, psychic phenomenal type of things. And so that to me probably in this lifetime has been, I don't know what my achievements are, I've never really sat and thought about it, but to me, my relationship with both sides of the house, you know, are is has been the key for me. And I don't believe I would have got anywhere close had I lived to be about 37. I had, now I realize I had certain walk-ins at certain times, and it's kind of interesting because they're on 6 and 12-year patterns. But about that age, I had a walk-in. I had out-of-body experience and spoke with, angels and all that. Had I left the party at that time, and I was asked if I wanted to, and it would have been, yeah, it would have been a life of blessings and achievement and this and that. But there's no pop there. It was just the character that I was judging it based on that, and I feel like that's going to be a big part of this too. Is where we all realize, hey, you know what? We're all subjected to the same thing. So all these prejudices and biases that we have and opinions that we have about other people, they're not even existing because
No.
it's just, we all entered this game. It's like you go play a game and you get pissed off at the guy that was that character and you take it to the soul level. That doesn't happen.
No. And that's
We're
just,
I think we're going to be laughing our asses off, yeah, on the
well,
other at some point.
I
Probably
don't
in
think we
form
have,
too.
I don't think we have to wait. I mean, I think it's pretty hilarious now because, but again, it's just sad for me to see so much hatred. And I
Yeah,
feel that because of
yeah,
all, I have lots of war memories, like the
yeah,
religious wars. And
yeah.
I didn't even know until a couple weeks ago that it's all, listen, whoever's listening, it's all rigged, it's all connected. I had no idea
Mm,
that the Templars were tasked with protecting the Atlantean codes. I just
hmm
found that out 2 years ago, and I have a
Yeah,
background in sacred geometry from 40 years ago. Our lives are rigged
yeah.
so that we bring all of this together for wisdom.
Yeah.
And, ultimately, everything gets turned to wisdom. And the sad part for me is the people, I'll just say it, you can just throw things at me. You can send me hate mail, people. I don't care anymore. It saddens me that there are so many people that are talking about, I'm awake and love and light.
Mm.
They're anything but
Well,
awake.
that's right. I mean, but that's my point about my relationship with the dark, or my understanding, whatever the dark and the light. Because look, metaphorically speaking, or not, too much light is as is going to carry the same energy as too much dark. And what I mean by that is,
Yeah, I know what you're saying. Yeah.
we're to be we're our nervous system is going to be relaxed in what we call 0 point. But the reality is the 0 point is from that dark extreme to that light extreme. It's the whole fucking highway.
Well, yeah, this is what I didn't say. This is what saddens me because this is just part of what I teach. I use human design in my coaching to
Yeah.
work with people in ways, so I know kind of have an idea of what they're here for, your cross of incarnation. But we're here to turn everything ultimately into wisdom.
Mm,
So the people that are talking about love and light and then spreading fear, division, and blame,
mm,
that's what saddens me.
yeah.
I
Yeah.
mean, I don't know if anybody listening feels that sadness. I'm not judging, but that's why Atlantis fell.
Yeah.
Atlantis didn't fall because of
It's yeah.
technology, it's because we outsourced our power.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
that's,
Well, but
to say we outsourced our inherent wisdom of I am, I create.
yeah.
So, yeah,
I
it's
mean, belief systems are belief systems, and the revealing, we think it's, like Job, in the Bible, like, take away his money, take away his family, give him disease, da 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 da. It's right here. It's like, take away every single belief. You want to find your soul and you want to test your faith, take away every single belief. Because really, that's what we do. We actually, you know, De Stefano says this. You cannot have an ascension without a descension,
Mhm.
right? Like, so the further you go, and your life exemplifies that. So you've gone through the pits of hell, emotionally, physically, mentally, financially, you know. But what that's allowed you to do is to add more colors to your palette that you paint with, you know. And
Yeah.
so thank you for that. And I can't believe we've been here for 2 hours and 10 minutes. It feels like
Oh my
20 minutes.
gosh. Yeah. Yeah.
I
Yeah.
can't keep you any longer. And I've got a show in 40 minutes. We got two more shows today.
Oh my
And
goodness. You're busy. Yeah.
I'm
This is,
really excited about this show that we just had. And these, I can really feel the difference in the work I'm doing now, since mid-May. And in fact, it's crazy because it was like something, and I wonder if other people went through, because the summer has been different. I mean, it's really been something amazing to me. And maybe it was the solstice or whatever, but from June the 1st through, well, from the month of June, like Facebook is shadow banning me now. Okay, like
wow.
YouTube is got more traction.
Right.
Facebook, they find it on the replay, or but they've really slammed me. But in June, because I must have been under the radar, we'd been shadow banned and stuck at about 46,000 people in the Soulogy group, as an example. Um, we increased over 20,000 in that month. So I
Wow.
feel like something happened, something
Oh,
shifted.
I want to speak to this.
Mm,
Here's the deal. I want to ask everybody who's listening, where are you attributing anything to something outside of you?
mm,
We are each the algorithm. Your soul has a
touche.
plan. But
Wow.
this is what we do. I mean, listen, I used to do it too. I'm
You're
not
right.
saying we go, oh, it's the comet, because now there's a comet at the, I wrote about that this morning.
Oh,
Oh my God, what is it gonna? Yeah,
the fake alien invasion.
yeah, whatever it is. So people are saying, oh, what is it gonna bring us? Like we're not everything, all memories, everywhere, all at once. It's helping us remember.
Mm,
Solar flares. I just want to remind everybody nothing happens to us.
right.
Everything is from us. Is a solar flare can be a great permission slip
Mm,
to say, oh, here, or a portal. That's why I don't really hang around in spiritual communities because they talk about portals and gateways, and that's great. But
mm,
then you realize I am
right.
everything, everywhere, all at once, throughout time and space. I have never died. I've always been in existence.
Right.
I just don't remember it.
Right.
So, what, and you are the algorithm,
That's true.
and we are connected with everybody else. So, if something changed, that might just
Yeah. Touche.
be
Touche, Wanda.
who of us is new
Touche.
that we all do this until we go, oh, wait a minute, I'm doing that thing again,
Yeah.
right? I'm just
Yeah.
doing that thing again. That's all it is. But my guides years ago gave me, I'm visual, I'm clairvoyant, and they gave me this picture of sitting in a big clock, like a big mechanical clock with the gears, gears notches. And no matter, I can still see it, no matter where you look, there's another gear. And I thought, at the time, I thought, well, when is my gear going to move? And we have to remember that yes, we're creating our own reality and we are connected to everything else. And so if something suddenly changed for you, your gear moved.
Hmm.
There's
Yeah.
something calling you. Or
But to your point, even the perception, because I mean, in my mind, it was a good correction. But even the not the lack of movement, you know, or whatever I just described as some kind of external force that was now, putting pressure on, that's not real. That's not even right. In fact, I've ordered that. You know what I mean? Like if whatever happens is, yeah, and we've experienced this. Things will happen. Like, man, why did that happen? Then you look back and go, oh my God, that was perfect. That was poetic justice or that, whatever. But look,
or
I want to ask you. I want to ask you one
wait a
more
minute, I
question.
just have
Go
to
ahead.
say
Oh,
this.
go ahead. Yes,
When it looks
please.
like things aren't happening, look, you've been listening to us rattle on for a long time. We are pure energy. And when we go through shifts and change, your body is the densest part. And so when it looks like things aren't moving, we're integrating. That's really all it is.
Yeah.
It's forced stillness. So many people I know right now are ill. I hurt my back, but it was in retrospect, I'd just gone really to this place of, God, I've never felt so still and so happy in my life. But my body had to integrate that. So I would just say to anybody, everything is so purposeful and so
Hmm.
perfect. Every trigger, everything, it's rigged. And for those of you who've listened to me for over the last, I don't know how many years I've been talking about this, it's rigged. It's
Hmm.
rigged for your growth, for your benefit. Yeah, that's all I wanted to say.
Thank you. I have two questions
Yeah.
uh, before we get out of here. Uh, First of all, the photograph on your wall of the natives over there, over your left shoulder.
Oh, yeah, that's my husband's. Uh-huh.
Yeah, that's nice. I like that.
It's
I
my
didn't,
husband's. Yeah, I'm part Cherokee, right? So,
I didn't know that. I didn't know that about you. My DNA's a third indigenous. Uh,
well, my grandmother's mother was in the Trail of Tears, so I
yeah,
have that
that's
struggle
wild.
and suffer.
That's
Yeah.
wild. We uh, lived in Arkansas for a couple of years on this path a few years ago, and behind us was a dry riverbed. That would occasionally fill up if it poured a rain. And it was like a dimensional doorway or some. I mean, because I could see a lot of things out there, elementals and stuff. But that was like they walked that river, that dry riverbank or that area or something. It was very, very deep, very emotional. But I've always had that connection. I wanted to ask you one last question because you mentioned it a couple of times, and we've heard people talk about it, and we've all had experiences over these past few years in our lifetimes where we refer to our team, our guides, our angels, etc., our soul family that's non-physical, or however you want to put it. I'm curious as to how. What are your thoughts on that? Uh, and has that presence changed in any way uh, as we have progressed, into 2025?
Well, boy, here I would say it's different for everybody. Here's what I really would say. Here's the bottom line.
Hmm.
The less you believe you're a lump of flesh, separate, the more you just live as this living energy, your guides change. Like I used to have guides, I would say they were my guides. They would come in with quantum physics that I would have to Google. But
Mm.
of course, that would be me because of, these other timelines in Atlantis of understanding that everything is energy. So I used to call them guides, and things would come in and I would go, "Oh, I don't know what that is." But now, so we all have guides. They will change as you change. And as you realize that you're the whole shebang and you have access to parallel lives, because you do, you have access to the brilliance that you've ever been. You just don't think you do, right? But I teach a little technique to my clients. Like somebody will say, "I'm just horrible at this." And I will say, "Well, there's some version of you in some parallel reality that's fabulous at this. Here's how to tap into it." So the more you understand that you're just this energy stream and you have access to everything throughout all time and space, then yeah, your guides change for
Mm,
me. And it also depends on how you receive information. Now ideas just drop in and I go, "Oh, I never thought
mm,
that's such a great idea. I would never have thought of that." So I don't delineate,
right.
but I
Yeah, I
realize,
know everybody's different. Yeah.
yeah,
But I was just curious because mine seems to be, uh,
changing.
well, it how would you the best way for me to describe it is I don't know. It feels like me. I don't even know how to explain it.
Yeah,
It's
I know
like
what you mean. Yeah, it does feel.
somebody somebody said the other day on the show that at least what they were receiving or whatever that we would get to a point where awake state, physical human awake state and physical human dream state would be one and the same. We would not be able to differentiate one from the other.
That's what I'm
And
talking about. You know,
yeah,
that's what I'm talking about. That's what I would notice in me. I mean,
yeah,
I've always received, like, I've seen angels, literally.
right.
I've seen galactics. I've seen literally a lot of stuff.
Mm.
But since I no longer, I mean, I just say I don't think much. I let thoughts move through me
They come through. Yeah.
and I
Yeah,
grab the ones
that
that,
makes sense to me. Yeah.
so then it is like that.
Yeah.
Because then it's just this, you see something or you get a hit and then explore it. So yeah,
Yeah. That
what you
makes sense to me.
it's
Like
true.
I walk through the town and it's not it used to be like mental images and I'm not saying that doesn't happen now, but there's something different happening in that as I'm having the experience, it feels kind of like a lucid dream. And
As it is.
little things will happen. Like a little old lady will come out of the door and go, "Buenas tardes, señor." But it's not the words, it's her face, it's her energy. It's like she's giving me something. You know what I mean? Or a little kid. I turned the corner and this little kid ran into me with his bicycle, a little scooter thing, and
Right.
starts and he falls and I pick him up, and I'm carrying him and his mother and his aunt or something run up to me and it was like this force of love, but it was like familiar or again, I think maybe going back to what you were saying, in when you so eloquently made me realize that it's me, right? Like it's me. I can't slice it any other way, or at least that's what seems to be uh, you know permeating through my field. It's like coming on more and more and more.
Here, this is what I would say from working with people over the years is that intellectually we hear all the science stuff, right? Like virtual reality goggles, but our nervous system is saying, "Oh no, that's this is a mouse and it's solid." But as we work with the nervous system so that it's no longer fight, flight, and freeze, think, because the nervous system believes there's an out there and it's separate from me. And as we do the work, and this is what I do with my clients, then they have this experience like you are, because then we say, "Oh, that there's an aspen tree out my window. Oh, that aspen tree is me," because it is. It's my own
Mm,
energy that I mean, that's pretty fantastic. It looks like a tree, but no, my particles of creation created that tree and my brain translated it. As we experience more and more the flexibility of the field, which is what I do with clients, then what you're saying, the nervous system relaxes
Hmm.
and then reality gets kind of mushy.
I wonder if yeah, that makes sense to me. Like it's like you know, if you're constricted or if something's constricted, obviously it doesn't have the flexibility in the range. So maybe the same thing works for, say, the visible light spectrum. Let's just say,
Yeah.
like we can see 2% or 3%, whatever it is. And as you relax, and that's another thing I've noticed, though. I've noticed that I'm seeing more. But some of it is like you mentioned the tree. There's a tree out here next to this little dipping pool. And I'm out there the other night and I'm in that space and I'm not even looking at the tree. And I'm like going, oh, wow, wow, what a, I'm just in awe. And all of a sudden, the tree drops its branch and kind of like like a
Yes.
lemon
Perfect.
tree or a lime tree, like an orange lime tree. It's this weird Mexican tree, and this thing flops on my head. And I'm going, oh, I forgot about you. You're right here in front of me. Like, I mean, it was the craziest thing. And I laugh 2 or 3 times a day thinking, dude, and the people will hear me too. I'll be out here talking to myself. This guy that works across the street, he's like, hey, Medina, who are you talking to? And I'm like, me.
Well, what you just described, I know we got to get off, but what you just described is what happens when you start to realize that everything is energy and that
Mm,
reality is fluid. But as long as we think it's not safe and there's an
mm.
out there, that fluidity
Yeah.
can't happen.
Yeah.
And but that's when, the other thing that happens is we shift in and out of dimensional realities.
True.
Like,
Yeah.
I know I
True.
put those earrings right there. I
Yeah.
always put them there.
Yes, that's
Right
happened a
there.
lot. Yeah,
And
that's
then,
happened a lot to me. That's freaking weird. Okay.
but
And
it's
but it's
not.
happened so much now. I'm going, okay, I know it's going to show back up. I'll probably walk out, come back, and that will be there. The
But
key, whatever the case is. I've
but
had
it's
that happen so many
yeah,
times.
a lot more people are experiencing that because it's all energy. And it's really this is why our nervous system saying, I got to protect myself. When that's not in place, then we start to experience the fluidity of what's
Yeah.
really happening. We we phase in and out of form billions of times per second, and
Yeah.
it's our story and our nervous system
Yeah.
that makes it seem consistent.
And I've noticed too, there's been a de-emphasis of the external, so to speak,
Yeah.
that you would think that the connections of personal, business or whatever, but that the personal or interpersonal connections would weaken. But I'm finding that they're actually strengthening. Like the communication is becoming more acute. The debris of the past or whatever. I'm thinking of one of my kids right now. It's going away, right? It's like a natural kind of leveling up or something. And again, I'm not saying I know anything. I'm just saying this is what I'm experiencing. So I
But this
have totally, huh? Go ahead.
I just want to say this is perfect for
Mm,
because you have this show.
mm,
We have this isn't woo at all, but we have these neurons in the brain called mirror neurons. And so when you share about your experiences,
mm,
or anybody does, but when you share about your experiences, the mirror neurons in someone listening to this or watching says, oh, I can do that too.
mm,
So what was impossible for them,
mm.
suddenly they're turned on. That's
Yeah,
the beauty of how this stuff works. That's why I love working with groups, right? Because our mirror neurons suddenly go, wow, if she did that or she did that, I can too now. It's not
yeah,
conscious, but it turns that little switch on. So
yeah.
it's
That's very
perfect,
cool.
Todd. Your
Yeah.
show is just so perfect for everyone.
Well, thank you very much. And thank you for coming in. And I look forward to doing it again, maybe a little bit later this year. And
Yeah, would love
I'll
to.
definitely reach out to you. Like I said, I'm probably going to head that direction first part of the year. And I'll definitely hit you up, no doubt about it.
Perfect.
Thank you so much for
Love
your
it.
service to humanity, and thank you for being so open and kind and considerate, and sharing yourself and sharing your work. How can people find you? Facebook? Where else are you located? You have a web. You have a website, right?
Yeah, I mean the easiest place is you can find me on my Facebook page. I have a timeline. I've got links there. I've got a public page in my timeline. I've got a YouTube channel called the Reality Architects.
Hmm.
I've got a website, The Empowered Empaths, because we're all empaths. We're just afraid to feel. It's just what you said.
Hmm.
Empaths are here to say, we're going to change the world. So I have a
Yeah.
public group for that and a public group called the Reality Architects.
Wow. Far out. Far out. Okay.
All
All
right.
right,
Thank you so much.
Wanda. You take care, and I will see you on this side, the other side, or both, hopefully.
My pleasure. My great pleasure always, Todd. Thanks so much.